Hello and welcome. I am Robin Hood Black coming to you from my Artsy Letters studio for week 3 in my Poetry Month series about poetry and art, where I explore one word and share a poem with that word as part of the theme, and then make some kind of mixed media artwork on that theme and let you tag along. Thank you so much for joining me. I just returned from a road trip to the other side of Tennessee for a wonderful art workshop with mixed media artist and author, product designer Lynn Perella. It was fantastic. Part of the joy of the trip was seeing all of the glory of spring on the way out there and on the way back. I had to go over the mountains because I am just on the other side of the Appalachian Mountains from the Tennessee side. And the hillsides were gorgeous. The greens were spectacular. The pollen was everywhere. But I knew that this week I wanted to celebrate spring. So I'm actually going to use that as my word. It's a big, broad word, but as poets, we like to also find words that can mean more than one thing. And I thought of the act of springing that animals do all the time, but springing into action. It just so happened that as I was contemplating all this, yesterday I'm filming this on Thursday, so on Wednesday, I happened to look into the little journal, the little devotional that I read each day, Daily Word from Unity. And there was a sentence in there that says, successful living springs from faith-based action, so I act decisively to help make my dreams come true. Now, I don't know if that language resonates with you or not, but it does remind me that I thought, well, people don't really use the word spring all that much, but there it was in the text that day. So we're going to spring into some action. April 17th is also National Haiku Poetry Day, and I wanted to incorporate that into my project this week. As many of you know, I adore haiku, writing it and reading it. And here's a poem I'd like to share with you. It was written by Kobayashi Issa. Many of you are familiar with his work, and translated by David G. Lanoux. You might be familiar with his work too. He is a haiku scholar who has translated and shared online more than 13,000 Issa poems. This one goes like this. The setting place for the spring sun, wisteria blossoms. So I have my word and my poem, and now it's time for ideas for the art. I'm not exactly sure how many of these ideas I'm going to incorporate, but I'm going to show you where my thoughts and imagination are running at the moment. The first week I did a journal cover. I made a journal. And the second week, last week, I made a collage onto a book cover. And this week, I think I'm going to make a collage on a cradled panel. That is this thing right here. Here's one in a package. You know, it's a wooden panel raised there, and you can get these in different depths. I went ahead and put an alligator hook on the back of this one, because I have found that sometimes that makes it easier to do at the beginning than trying to do it at the end. This panel, if you want to save a little time on preparing a substrate, that's the thing you make your art on. This is a gessoed panel, so it already has gesso on the wood, and it is just ready. You could paint directly on this, you could sketch directly on this, but we're going to make a collage on it. And I want it to be something that reflects being out in the spring world. Yesterday morning, I took my dog for a walk to one of my favorite places, my alma mater's campus, Furman University, and enjoyed the weather out there. One of the prettiest places to come on a spring morning is my alma mater, the campus of Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina. We live just north of here and love to come and bring our dog down here. Hey, Rookie, say hi. Rookie. There you are. And found a few little things to bring home. Here are some things from yesterday. This is a little vinca vine. The azaleas were kind of on their way out. They were about half blooming, the bushes. I picked up some blossoms from the ground. It's looking pretty wild, but we're going to make use of this on a jelly plate, and even if the flower's a little spent, it will still work. You'll see. So I got a few white ones I got a pink one. And then, yeah, a few of these little vinca vines. So that was from yesterday. Now, so somehow I will incorporate some of these things. I wanted to share this with you to think about ways that you can take the present moment, maybe a walk outside or just, going outside your house and preserving it in art. The most direct way to do that is to sketch. And as I mentioned to some of the other ladies at the retreat this past weekend, sometimes I don't think I really see something unless I draw it. But you don't have to draw. You don't have to sketch. You can find other ways to take these images that are important or, spoke to you in a certain period of time and keep them forever in artwork. Another element that I'm going to use in this collage is part of a photograph. Now, on my phone yesterday, I took some video. I didn't take a separate shot of the sun coming through the trees, so these are screenshots, and they look like it. But I've tried printing them on 3 different kinds of paper. This first kind is a regular printer paper. It's 100% cotton rag, very nice paper, white. That's a contemporary paper. The second one I really like. This is on vintage onion skin paper. It's like typewriter paper, probably, and maybe it's not true onion skin, but it's pretty cool. It's got the watermark on the back here too, just a bond for typewriter paper. It's got a little bit of color to it, and I think it makes the colors pop. And this is probably, decades old. I'm not sure. 60s maybe, something like that. But I think I prefer the look of this one. And then I also printed it on some marker paper. It's got the shiny side on the back. This is just regular marker paper for artists. I like that one too. And a reminder, because of course this uses a lot of printer ink. Even if I just use a little bit of this image or just take the sun out of it, I can use the other parts as, basis for collage. Now in this one, I also like that line right there and the 2 shadows there. So, I might leave those in. We'll see what I do right there. But I could also at some point even take these little strips of pictures that I was taking there at Furman. I could take a strip like that, cut it out, use that in a collage or alter it, So there are all kinds of ways to use all kinds of things. Let me also mention some other tools that I use sometimes. If I'm making artwork that I want to last, and especially if it's something that I'm going to put in my Etsy shop or, want to sell, I'd prefer to have it be something that is going to last. So I will use a little pH testing pen sometimes on the papers that I use. For instance, here's that marker paper. Purple means it's good to go. It is not acidic. This one I know is nice and purple because it's cotton rag, new paper. Now this is that old typewriter paper. So if I test it with this pen, I'm getting a little faint, purple there, but you see that just quickly goes to yellow and fades out. So this is actually not acid free. And so I would probably treat it. There's a couple of ways to do this. For different effects that you want. I use some of this sometimes. It's Bookkeeper deacidification spray. It's expensive, but I would probably use it on this paper, and it just gives kind of a pH buffer to it. I don't need it so much on these, but I might use this spray on all of it. This is Moab, it's by Legion, a desert varnish. It's a spray that you put on, and it is supposed to extend the life of digital photos and documents and that sort of thing. I use it on all kinds of things. I use it on old texts and things too. I don't know if it helps, but it kind of makes me feel better. So you might see me using these. You can also just create with abandon, use old magazines, use whatever, and not worry about that at all. But if you're interested in sort of the technical aspects of maybe extending the life of the colors and, pieces that you're using, these are a couple of products you might want to consider. For the poem, I'm going to write that out in some calligraphy. So join me for that. Just real fast. Maybe. Another element I plan to use in some form or fashion is a tea bag, or 2, or 5, or on a piece of work. Issa's name in Japanese means cup of tea. So I figured I have to at least include a little bit of tea in this piece. This tissue technique is something I learned from Catherine Rains in her collage workshops. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video and for being patient with me as I figure out how to make these videos. And I wish you a wonderful haiku day and poetry month. And whenever you're watching this, I wish you the joy of springtime.